All right. Now I want to add a few things on the conditional formatting that we looked at in the past lecture. That was part one. I decided to make this part two to clarify some things that I didn't add in the previous lecture. Right now, we continue working with our data, that's our sales data. And we say that this sales data contains information about data was generated, let's say, from an e-commerce store. Okay. Now, when let's say, for example, you are running an e-commerce store, the admin or a product owner will be given access to, work with the data, such as exporting the transaction information from the database, right? If it's WordPress, all right, we have options to export it, or Shopify, or any other content management system. Okay, if you are working as a data analyst, most times you'll be given access to a database, all right? This is excluding, we are not talking about structured query language now, because most of these popular e-commerce platforms enables export of files in CSV, all right, and later you can save it as Excel files. Now, but most especially is going to be most times it's going to be coming in form of CSV. Now, this is a typical example of real life data coming from a store containing the users or the customers here that made purchase on the store and the items. We've already talked about this. Now I want to specifically discuss on some things. For example, let's say we want to use conditional formatting to know we have quantities in stock, right? The number of items in stock available. So what I did, I just had to duplicate this unit. There was no time to start putting in values in the stock. Let's say we have 95 units are still available. Okay, we have 50 units still available in stock, and then we have this quantity about 2, which means that it is low in stock. Let's say we want to use conditional formatting, so we can let the company, because a data analyst, you have to present something. They have to work on your data and then present it to a company for insight. Okay, this is a general knowledge of a data analyst and their roles and responsibilities. Now, what you have to do, select this the whole data here from the bottom to the top. There's a way of doing that. Okay, think holding your shift control, then arrow down, right? Hold the shift, the control, and then press the down button on your keyboard. It will select all the data. So the next thing to do is to go to the conditional formatting. Now, what you want to do is to use this. Let's use the color scale, right? We have different color scales here. The first one is green to yellow to red. Now, I want to use this to explain something. All right. So looking at this, if you see any of these cells that have a strong green color here, it means that what? It means that there's a green, like higher number of quantities of, like, no, higher number of item in stock, right? So, but once you start seeing red, like it's red, simply meaning you have to add those items in stock. Availability of those items in stock are low. That's the simple explanation of what of this thing. Now the ones in yellow, all right, yellow almost like orange means it's medium, all right, it's getting lesser. Obviously, you should do something about it, right? Something like green light, I'm giving yellow light, all right, it's time to go, it's time to stop, all right. So that's what it means. Then we have um then for the unit, we can still use something like that, or let's say, in fact, let's do this again. Let's now use the icon set. Okay, for this icon set, all right, so once you see that the arrow is up, let me zoom this a little so we can see some things here. The arrow here is pointing up, meaning that what the stock is high, all right, quantity in stock is high. Now we have the medium. So the Excel categorizes this into 3: high, medium, and low. Those low ones are those pointing down. So once it's 15 here, it means the item is low. Once it's 7, 4, then medium from 60, all right? And then we have high here, 75. Now, what happens is that once we change this, let's say, for example, I change this item here to, because these things are dynamic. Let's say I change it to 50. You notice what happens? The color automatically changes and then the arrow changes as well. All right. Let's say we make it 500. You notice what happens? So they are all relative. As I made 500, it automatically made the whole other values here, turning the arrows to be down. So only this one has affected everything in this data set. So there's not how you have 500 items in your store, then you are having 50. That means 50 is low relative to what 500. Okay, it's the same thing applicable to this number of units here. And a customer comes to buy 500 units, or let's say 100 units or 200 units of an item, and then other customers are buying 50, 20, 10. Like relatively, they are low. So that's one thing with conditional formatting. Any change in a cell will affect its neighboring cells. So let's take this back to 95. So what happens? The whole stuff changes. So this is basically it. And you can also use this to check. For example, we have this also in stock. We can as well as use icon sets. We can use this icon sets. All right, just like our indicator on a mobile phone. This means full bar. It means we have a low battery. You have a low battery. You have to charge your store. You have to stock your items on your store. Okay. So I think I've been able to cover something and explain better. All right. So I'll be seeing you in our next lessons. Thank you so much for joining, and I see you next time.